Hi, in this video I want to talk about how life and sentience and experience is about just how much you endure. Um, I've already mentioned this in many other videos, but let's make a video its own and just talk about this subject more precisely. So life is, like I mentioned before, you're forced into existence, and once you're forced into existence, you're forced to do. You're forced to have a motivation. You have a scheming. You have a motivation mechanism. You're doing something, whatever it is you're accomplishing, even if it's just trying to kill yourself. You're just still doing something. You're still doing something in one way or another. You're forced to do something, and the ultimate thing that we're doing when we're existing is enduring. Since we can't avoid enduring, it's a matter of how much you endure. Like I mentioned, more or less pain is another way of putting more or less pain. There's only so much we can do to avoid the endurance. But regardless of what we're doing, once you're a living thing, a sentient being, the forces of nature, the forces of everything around you, the effects of everything around you, just enduring the looking of a wall can have its effects on you. It doesn't matter what you're looking at, what you're doing, you're forced to endure, and it's a matter of how much you're enduring, how much pain you're going through, how much suffering, how much value you're giving off, how much value numbers you're expressing. So you're either expressing more value numbers or less value numbers. But it's important, I guess, to make the distinction between just pain and enduring, is that once you're existing, you're going through the motions of everyday existence. You're just, I guess it's just a matter of you're forced to do, and those have consequences. And the consequences are enduring the circumstances and the consequences of existence. So whatever it may be, whatever circumstance you can possibly think of, all you're doing is enduring another circumstance. There's no avoiding it, like I mentioned, even simply looking at a wall, any circumstance, any number of things, more or less pain, you're forced to endure. You're either enduring or not enduring. And not enduring is the only other option. And it's a matter of more or less enduring or no enduring. And no enduring doesn't mean you haven't endured, it just means you're enduring. You've already gone through the enduring. And once the enduring has begun, doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's just a matter of enduring now or not enduring now. And you endured. Just because you're no longer enduring doesn't mean you endured before, but there's either enduring or not enduring. And if you're not enduring, it's either you never existed, but there's no not existing because we're basing it off people that have existed or experiences that have existed. So it's either you have endured or you're no longer enduring, or if you aren't. But yes, that's the basic idea. Before I confuse myself on the subject. So yes, doesn't mean that the pain and the suffering haven't already happened. They've already happened. They've already existed. It's already experienced. And that's when the negative's already been created once you've experienced the endurance. But I guess I was trying to make a comparison between once you're forced to exist. I was just looking at it. I guess it's a more simplistic comparison, or metaphor or analogy than just simply saying more or less pain. You're forced to endure. You're forced to do. You're forced to do whatever you are to do. You're forced to have the satisfactions. You're forced to have the addictions that you have. You're forced to. I guess it's mixing in more or less pain with all the addictions that you have to satisfy them. You have your addictions, and the addictions, regardless of what they are the things that are causing or taking away the pain. And all the pain that we have whatever it is, the experiences and much of the value we have is based on the addictions that we have. The addiction doesn't matter, but the addiction means something because it exists and it's the thing that's really causing it. And we can base what we can do to solve the addiction or find something more efficient to solve the addiction or whatever it is. It means something, but in the end, it's about the feeling you get from that addiction. It's either good or bad, and it's more or less pain. Not really good, but it's either bad or less bad. Worse or worser or worstest. Or baddest. So it's about avoiding the pain, and you're forced to do once you exist. So you're forced to endure. Let's see if I can mention anything in my notes to make this a little more comprehensive. But yeah, life is just about how much you endure, how much pain you go through, how much suffering you experience. It's unavoidable once you've experienced it. Once the second you're sentient and you're brought into this existence, you are forced to endure. And once you've endured, there's no taking the fact that you endured away. At that point, it's just you're enduring or you're not enduring. but the enduring already happened. So you're either enduring, and that's, that comes back to the idea of you're enduring whatever satisfaction you think you're satisfying. You're enduring it. You endured it to get the satisfaction. You went through more or less pain to get at whatever gratification you get out in the end of whatever you're experiencing. I mean, this is really no different. I guess I just wasn't really thinking about how similar this was to the more or less pain thing when I was writing it down, or I'm just not thinking exactly the way, the distinction I was trying to make when I thought of it. But it's about endurance, and I guess a relationship and a distinction between that and more or less pain. Either you're experiencing more or less pain, or you're just enduring the experiencings of existence. Once you live, all you're doing is enduring. Every moment and every movement you make, it's more or less pain, but it's endurance. You're pushing through day-to-day life, you're going through the motions, and that's really all you're doing or accomplishing. That's all we're doing. The accomplishment is endurance. You endure to endure another day. You endure your perfection or your accomplishment and the satisfaction of that accomplishment. You're enduring the achieving of that just to endure another achieving, because you can only do so much to solve that problem unless that problem is your last problem. So you endure it to move on to another problem, to endure that problem, and you're just doing that problem to solve another problem, and this goes right back to the redundancy. And these videos are redundant, and that's really just goes down to just how simplistic these philosophies are. It's just about trying to find different contexts to convince you. It's about convincing and trying to at least get a new idea in people's brains, to spread an idea and get these ideas across and see if it can become a bigger meaning, or can give a broader understanding of the subjects and a different point of view of these subjects, to make it sure it spreads as far as possible and not necessarily confuses the subject. But in any cases, that's what happens. We can always expect the best. We can just only hope for the best. And that's all we can do, is hope for the best and hope for the best outcome. So, is there anything else to mention? That's all it is. I'm going through the motions of every day, pushing through the addictions, pushing through the accomplishments, pushing through the adversity of whatever you may want to accomplish, or the things that you're trying to avoid. Either avoiding or accomplishing. You're only accomplishing to accomplish again. You're accomplishing to avoid a negative because you wanted to accomplish that thing to begin with, even if you didn't know it. Because it's something that satisfied you, and if it satisfied you, it's based on the fact that it was a negative, or you're trying to avoid a negative, or you're trying to get rid of a negative. So it's either avoiding a negative or getting rid of a negative. That's all we're doing. Avoiding a negative or getting rid of a negative. Generally speaking, those are the only things we're really doing. You're avoiding a negative. Usually, you're either avoiding a negative or getting rid of a negative. So you're getting rid of you take medicine to get rid of an illness, or you brush your teeth to avoid getting cavities. I guess those are good examples to use. And then you pat yourself on the back once you go to the dentist, and they tell you that you don't have any cavities this time, or whatever it is, or you're no longer sick, therefore I'm satisfied. I get all hot and bothered, and oh yes, I satisfy whatever I get hungry. It's all just satisfying to avoid starvation. So you're avoiding a pain at that point. You're avoiding going through more pain. And you're satisfying a desire at the same time. So I guess that's a way of looking at it. When you're eating, you're avoiding a pain, and you're getting rid of a pain. So when you're eating, you're satisfying a desire, you're avoiding the deprivation, but it's only a deprivation, and you're accomplishing. So you're avoiding a pain when you're eating and, say, satisfying your sexual desire by satisfying the deprivation, but not necessarily overt pain. You're avoiding it by going through even more, and you're satisfying it, and you're getting rid of it by getting rid of the tension. So you're getting rid of the pain by getting rid of the tension, and you're satisfying the tension as well. So you're avoiding the pain, say, in something like sex, and something like satisfying your hunger. So you're avoiding it by satisfying it. But the longer you take to satisfy it, the more you're going to get out of it. So you're avoiding it by satisfying it, but you're also avoiding more pain by satisfying it, but you're still going through pain. So it's still in a zero sum. but you're just avoiding less. So you're still avoiding. And that, since, not only the fact that you're avoiding less, but the fact that you're avoiding it all. And since those are the only two things that work, doesn't mean it means something in the end. It's still avoiding or preventing. Avoiding or getting rid of. So yeah, avoiding and preventing are the same thing. So it's either avoiding it, so you're avoiding greater deprivation and tension by satisfying your desires, and you're avoiding and, so what was I saying? Avoiding and getting rid of. So you're avoiding it by getting rid of it, and then you're also getting rid of it. So you're also getting rid of this the deprivation by satisfying it, and you're avoiding greater by getting rid of it sooner. But it's still getting rid of it sooner because you're just still trying to get rid of it. It's still a deprivation. Same thing with hunger. You're getting rid of it by satisfying it. So you're avoiding more by satisfying it. But you had to go through it to begin with, because you're not going to get the satisfaction without the negative. You're not going to get hungry. You're not going to eat food unless you're hungry, and it takes time before you're hungry, before you get hungry, because you're already full. So it takes time to get hungry because you have an empty stomach. You need to wait for your stomach to empty, and you get hungry again, and you're avoiding pain or deprivation by satisfying it, and you're getting rid of it by satisfying it. So you're accomplishing two things. You're avoiding and getting rid of, but that just really points out just how much it is about avoiding and getting rid of pain. Avoiding and preventing. Avoiding and getting rid of pain. So, yes, you're avoiding and getting rid of pain at that point. So, yes. Sorry, I'm just coming up with new metaphors and trying to have them go through my brain and make sense. So you're avoiding getting rid of pain when you're satisfying many things. So that's really what it's all about. You're doing both of those at the same time. That still doesn't mean it's not a zero sum. It's still a zero sum because it's still avoiding and getting rid of pain by satisfying a tension you already have. So if it's a tension, you're avoiding and getting rid of it. It would apply to a sickness. So you're avoiding a sickness, so you want to fix it. You're avoiding it. Let's see if I can figure this out. I'm sort of losing myself in my own mind right now. I'm getting tired as well. So I'm avoiding the pain. So I'm sick and I'm avoiding it, but I didn't avoid it. I'm avoiding more pain. So in many circumstances, it's just about avoiding more. You have to go through some to get the satisfaction you want to get, to have the satisfaction there to satisfy to begin with, to get rid of. So you need to go through some anyway to get rid of it. But you can't get rid of it unless you go through some. And you can't avoid going through some because our life is predicated on addictions and deprivation. And that proves that there's only deprivation that we're satisfying in the end. So yes, hope that made enough sense. I don't want to go on too much longer, but that's the basic point. I think you can fill in the gaps of anything I may have not thoroughly gone over enough, but that's the basic idea. It's just the basic idea. Yep. I don't want to say any more. I'm just going to sit here and pause anyway. Thank you. Until next time.